Canada has entered a recession, but politicians will not admit it. I'm Marco Perry. Welcome to the Perry Platform. Better Dwelling reports that real gross domestic product, GDP, per capita data shows that the country of Canada is in a per capita recession. And per capita really is an important keyword there. So, real GDP is a country's economic output adjusted to remove the impact of inflation. Politicians usually use just pure GDP as a measure of prosperity within a country, but doing something like using real GDP is oftentimes more representative of the current situation because it doesn't allow a sleight of hand where a politician will say GDP has increased even though it's just the current outputs going up due to inflation while nothing new really is happening. For example, if you're a country who in this hypothetical example exports only one egg and that egg is worth $5 today, but last year you still exported only one egg, but it was worth $4, you can say your GDP has gone up to 5. That is a X% increase, and you can pretend you're doing good, but in reality, you're still selling one egg. You've not created any new jobs. Your exports have not truly gone up. All that's happened here is inflation has increased the price. Now, adding in the other keyword here, per capita, is adjusting your GDP to average it out per person, removing the impact of something like population change. Every additional person you add to your country who is working is going to increase your GDP. They're adding to the output. So the raw GDP figure will of course go up if you do things like increase your immigration numbers, but you have to look at how that's impacting the average resident. How is the average resident's output performing now? This is why many people are opting for this real GDP per capita data versus simply GDP data. And this was quite astounding to me because I never considered the vast difference between the two measures. Real GDP per capita is really showing you how the average person is doing. GDP is just a blanket figure that doesn't really mean anything. You're not truly sure if the numbers have gone up simply due to inflation, immigration, or any combination of factors like that. Real GDP is going to show you how the average person's quality of life is trending, and Canada is trending down. A recession, also to note, is defined as a period of eroding economic welfare, and that's what we have here. Just look around you to see the evidence there. While politicians like Trudeau and Joe Biden are on Twitter saying how well they're doing for the economy, the average person is seeing things like raising interest rates, making it harder to buy things. Inflation, also making it harder to buy things. And that comes as a byproduct of idiotic COVID spending, policies, and large lockdowns. Housing, totally unaffordable for the average Canadian. And that is once again due to idiotic government policies and lack of supply, which the government also has a hand in. Look at things like gas prices. Once again, government policies making it worse. The carbon tax I used to be somewhat neutral towards, but now I'm realizing it truly isn't an efficient policy. The goal of it was to get people to use less gas. But I don't think that's happening. Gas is something that everyone needs if they're going to be driving, and many people have to drive, to work, to school, to whatever. I don't see any data that shows the carbon tax has decreased the average person's gas consumption. In fact, what I do see is just that gas has become more expensive for the average person, and yet they're still driving the ways they did before. And further, I'm not seeing any evidence that the tax collected from this carbon tax idea is doing anything to improve the environment. In fact, much of it is getting paid back out to you via a green tax rebate. So, this circular reasoning isn't doing too much aside from adding burdens to the average Canadian. Then what about food? Corporate greed and supply chain issues have made that extremely expensive. Then what about healthcare? We have long wait times for subpar quality services. Canada really is in an issue right now. Our GDP per capita has fallen by 0.9% in Q4 of 2022, and before that, there's a 0.2% drop in the previous quarter. And typically, that means you're in a recession. 2 quarters of continuous drops. And Q1 of 2023, that data is coming out soon. And by all observable measures, things don't look good. We're likely going to see another decline. Then to make matters worse, the OECD forecasts that Canada will have the worst GDP per capita growth of any advanced economy for a 40-year period. That is an embarrassment, We're the second largest country in terms of landmass in the world. We are rich with resources. We have an educated population, and we are a dream destination for many people around the world. Yet, the people we've elected as decision makers have driven Canada into this state of non-competitiveness. We're too concerned with nonsense, and we're spending too little time doing things that will actually make us global leaders. There's a long list of things that Canada has to get serious about. For example, reducing brain drain. Our most talented people leaving Canada to work in other places like America. We have to harness the power of our natural resources. We have to tackle drug addiction and homelessness. We have to remove foolish measures that hurt Canadians while doing nothing to solve the underlying issues they purport to care about, like the carbon tax. We have to get serious about crime. We have to shift our economy away from real estate into something more sustainable. We have to attract investment. We have to put business first. We have to develop our land. As I said, we're the second largest country by landmass in the world. We can't have everyone living and aggregating in the GTA and GVA areas. We have to find a way to make our land productive. We have to forget the asinine culture war issues and get serious about economic policy, which is going to produce prosperity for all Canadians and other people who want to move here. We have to do things for Canadians, not just politically convenient interest groups. We have to bring people together, not divide along arbitrary lines. Canada's potential truly is unmatched, and I really believe that. We have all the right components here, but not the right leaders. We need the right people in place to guide us. In a democracy, citizens need to be informed so we can get those people who are competent elected. Otherwise, we end up with people like Trudeau, and in America, like Joe Biden. Now, Trudeau's interesting because he's simply a high school art teacher, and he's running the show. Is it any wonder why we're in this economic disaster? Now, I'll close by saying things can still get a lot worse. It's time for us to wisen up. It's time for us to put people in positions of power who are serious, who have the right priorities, who are not going to be distracted by asinine things that seemingly are running wild in the political world right now. Fortunately, there are elections that are going to be coming up in relatively short order, and that'll be our time to act. Now, with that, it does bring us to the end of our conversation for today. If you enjoyed the material, be sure to leave a review and share. They'll help us grow. And you can find me online at perryplatform.org and on social media at perryplatform. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.